In the New Testament Christian scripture, the Apostle Paul admonishes the people of the young church in Philippi to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. I've taken that scripture seriously since I was old enough to have any kind of understanding of what it might mean for me. Although the church of my childhood and youth would interpret my working out my own salvation as a journey that has led me into grave heresy. I grew up in the United Pentecostal Church, a denomination of Unitarian doctrine in their views on the Godhead, although I never heard the word Unitarian used to describe who we were. We called ourselves a oneness movement, and I was taught that Trinitarian doctrine was not biblically sound and that all adherents to that false belief were unsaved. I grew up being taught that the theological split that occurred at the Council of Nicaea was a part of our heritage as oneness Pentecostals. Imagine my surprise then when, as a strayed from the faith adult, I happened upon Unitarianism and discovered that the Council of Nicaea was a pivotal moment of this faith as well. And then my subsequent understanding of exactly what my seemingly unrelated upbringing had in common with the Unitarian Universalist faith that was drawing me in. My heretical questioning of all I had been taught scared me to death at first. The ingrained belief in a burning hell awaiting those who strayed had been enough to keep me on the straight and narrow well into young adulthood. It was not until I was 25 that I dared to admit that I wanted to learn more. My earliest religious longings have called me to a ministry I could never fully understand or realize while in the faith community of my youth. But those early experiences of stunted development have led me to this place of knowing my voice, knowing for and with whom I am called to speak, and what message is mine to share. It is a message of reconciliation. It is connecting people who seem on the surface too vastly different to ever come to a fellowship table together. It is an opening of these people to the possibility of working together even while still holding to very different theologies and worldviews. The more I have become immersed in the ministry of presence through my work for a senior care network, my experience of hospital chaplaincy, and the beginning work of this parish internship, the less attention I can even begin to pay to the symbology of the Trinity or the argument of unity and oneness of the Godhead that dominated my youth. The possibilities of connection amongst the differences seem to me to be too big and too important for that particular fight. And through these experiences of being present to people in the late years of their lives, sometimes in the midst of great tragedies, sometimes as they leave this life completely, sometimes in peace, sometimes in an unimaginable suffering, and sometimes just being with the ones they leave behind, I believe that my own agnosticism has evolved into an ever-changing, mysterious thing with a big, bold-typed asterisk. I do not believe that we can definitively know whether theists and their myriad beliefs, nor atheists and theirs, are closer to ultimate truth. However, I believe strongly in my experiences of a something bigger, a something so much bigger than our human mind will ever be able to conceive. So big that some days I get bogged down in a kind of despair over why we even bother with the pettiness of our particular interpretations. Some days it feels like this will be a growing edge in my ministry, this moving past the heady notion that it's all too big for any conversation in which we are engaged to even matter in the long run. And yet it does matter. It matters because all we know for sure is the experiences and the lives that we are living right now. It matters how we live our one and wild and precious life because we say it does. What is different and so important about our heritage of universalism is that we have no hellfire and brimstone to prevent us from exploring ideas in a way that may seem dangerous. And so, I believe it becomes incumbent upon us to reach out our hands to fellow seekers and fellow travelers who are seeking nothing at all. Particularly for those of us in a liberal faith, we are even mandated, perhaps, to engage in the work of reinterpreting our own beliefs, our own symbols, and our own relationships with the beliefs and symbols of others, so that it is we who can meet them at the table of cooperation exactly where they are. Not a meeting of halfway, because they cannot always meet us there. And not because we are more magnanimous and willing to budge, but because our liberal interpretations of theology will allow us to facilitate a meeting with no expectations that our siblings of more fundamentalist faiths could compromise in a way that seems to them heretical. So the onus may just be on us. It's a challenge that has been difficult to rise to. But we must, I believe, if we are to remain relevant and continue to make a positive difference in our ever-changing, ever more interconnected world. By interconnected, let me clarify that we have always been inextricably interconnected. I believe that we are just now waking up to that knowledge as a species, and not a second too soon. I believe that we must cooperate or perish. Unitarian Universalism specifically, and ultimately humanity as a whole. Unitarian Universalism can be a powerful place of witness from which to facilitate the waking up of our fellow travelers on this path. It is full of great hope. Our planet will be just fine. Our universe is vast, it knows what it's doing, and there is nothing that we, really, tiny little motes of dust in the grand scheme, can do to destroy the only slightly bigger mote of dust on which we live. The question is how long our species and others affected by us will remain along for the ride. And what we do with the time that we have left matters, because we say it does. And no deity has revealed itself to anyone I have ever met to tell us any different. What we have for sure is right now, and we absolutely have the power to make the now so much better. We must work for a better now to have any chance of a better future. And it may just be as simple as that. There is hope, friends, that through cooperation with our fellow human beings of all religions and none, that we will create a future for our children of which we can be proud. We need not believe alike. Indeed, we never will. We can love beyond theology. We must love beyond theology. In faith, we will love beyond theology. Maybe so.